Hello everyone, welcome back. Fred here, AF Math and Engineering, and we're going to do a couple questions which are just basic high school questions, and hopefully if you're struggling with any kind of topics like this in your high school class, this will help you kind of fix those. Alright, so with that being said, let's take a look at what two questions we have here and let's solve them together, okay? So first question. A family of polynomials has an equation y equals z times x minus 3 times x plus 2 cubed. What is the value of z for the family member represented by this group? Okay, so, well, we have a function here, okay, we have a graph, we have our x and our y planes here, and we have four possible answers, okay? So, in these types of questions, okay, what these types of questions are testing is your ability to use the concepts that you've been learning in kind of grade 9 and grade 10 to solve an actual problem, okay? So you're going to use kind of your x and your y intercept knowledge, and you're going to apply it to this question in order to solve for the constant, okay? So let's go ahead and let's do that, all right? So what information do we have? Well, we know that when y is equal to 0, okay, well, the two roots of x, right? And we know that over here by saying that, okay, well, since this is kind of in factor form, x is equal to 3 and x is equal to negative 2. We have those both as roots, okay? So we can't really use that in this case, right? Because as you can see, if we set y to 0, okay, and plug in values for x, we're not going to be able to solve for z, okay, because the other side of the equation is going to be 0. So knowing that, okay, we need to use our y-intercept, okay? So we need to set x to 0, and what that's going to do is that's going to enable us to solve for z. Okay, so that first step, knowing how to approach the question and how to solve for z, is really the trick in this question, okay? So it's applying the knowledge that we've learned with intercepts to solve for the constant z here in this case. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's try that. All right, so we have our y here, okay, and we have our y as, and let's just, let's set our x to 0 to start, okay? So we have y equals z, and then let's set our x to 0, okay? We're at this point here. Okay. So we've done that, and now let's sub in our y. So when x is 0, right, and we're just remembering this from our x and our y-intercept practice, okay? So we go over here, okay? So when x is 0, what is y? And we come up to here, and y is roughly in between 64 and 32, okay? Not roughly, but in this graph, it is exactly there, okay? So that's 48. So let's plug that in. Perfect. Okay, so we have 48 equals z times negative 3 times 2 cubed. And we can go ahead and we can expand that and just solve for z. I think we all know how to do that at this point. Okay, so we have 8 times negative 3. Okay, 2 cubed is 8 times negative 3. That's going to be negative 24. And if we divide both sides by negative 24, we're going to get that z is equal to negative 2. Okay. So the answer there is C. Great. Okay. So that was a pretty simple question. And like I said, the trick there was just applying our our knowledge of intercepts in order to extract the information that we needed from the question. Okay. So we applied a concept that we learned, and we applied it to a worded question here. Okay. And that's you're going to see that happening more and more as we go along in the high school math. Let's take a look at the second question, okay? So which of the following binomials is a factor of x cubed minus 6x squared plus 11x minus 6? Okay, so how do we approach this question? Well, what does it mean for a binomial to be a factor of this polynomial here, all right? And what it means is that this binomial here can be divided into this equation so that there's a 0 remainder, okay? A different way of saying that is that the root here, so if, for example, we have x minus 1, right, as a factor here. So we can say that one of the roots here, okay, is x equals 1. So we kind of have a factor here like this, x minus 1 equals 0. That's kind of what it looks like, okay? So we can say that one of the roots of this equation, or one of the x-intercepts, is x equals 1, okay? For example, a here as well, we can say that the root here is x equals -1. Okay, so you just take that 1 and you move it to the other side of the equation. Take the 1, move to the other side of the equation, or take the 10 and move it over there. So x is equal to -10. Okay, so now that we know that, all right, let's take those x values and let's plug them into the equation, okay? And whichever one of these values gives us 0, that is considered a factor, okay, of this polynomial. Okay, so for a, let's plug that in. So x equals -1. Let's plug that in. We move the 1 to the other side. Okay, so we have, just trying to solve for a here, and let's just do it down here, okay? So we're going to try and plug a in. So we have -1 cubed, okay, minus 6 -1 squared, plus 11 -1 minus 6, okay? So that is -1, right? -1 cubed is -1, and that's going to be a positive 1 there, so -6 minus 11 minus 6. As you can see, we have a bunch of negatives. That's not going to be equal to 0. Let's try b. Okay, so b here, let's plug in 1. Okay, so we have 1 cubed minus 6 1 squared plus 11 1 minus 6. Okay, so then we have 1 minus 6 plus 11 minus 6. And as you can see here, right guys, we have 12 minus 12. And that's going to be equal to 0. So once we find which one is equal to 0 there, we can stop and we can say that we found the answer, okay? We don't even have to try -10 or root 10, okay? So those are kind of put in there to confuse you, all right? Those are very tricky, and obviously, you know, we can't plug in root 10 into here and solve it, root 10 cubed. I mean, we don't have, you know, they're not really going to ask us to do that, I don't think. So those are just put in there to confuse you. So try the simple ones first. Plug the roots in. Okay, if they equal 0, that's the answer. Okay, simple as that. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope that helped. You know, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and always feel free to comment on the video and suggest some videos topics for us. Anything you're struggling with. Thanks for watching.